That's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about a permanent loss.
Really, at the end of the day, it's just the matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so where you can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Happy Black Friday to all you degens and degenettes out there. Welcome back to another book club here at the Degen Roundtable. I am your host, Zenith, and I'm joined by my excellent co-host, Mr. Will Stevenson. How you doing, buddy?
I am doing pretty good. I'm currently driving and rolling through Texas, headed to Thanksgiving number 2. Gonna go spend some time with the family, and oh, look at that. It is starting to rain. How fortuitous. Lovely.
All right.
But yeah, life is good, man. Life is good. How was your Thanksgiving?
Good. I did a very non-traditional thing, as you and I talked about on the phone yesterday, but I feel like I've probably ranted about this enough on the channel, which is like, I just don't think turkey's that good. Nor
I don't think turkey's good either, bro. I think it's a very overrated meat. Like almost zero fat content in it. Like I had a Puerto Rican Thanksgiving yesterday, so it was awesome. But continue on. Tell the folks at home about your wonderful decisions, because I thought it was good.
Yeah, so I made steak with pasta Alfredo and some broccoli, but also I tried to go all out with steak. I did a reverse sear on it, so threw it in the oven first and then slapped it on the cast iron skillet afterwards. Got it to a nice, beautiful medium rare, and went for a bone-in New York strip steak, and it turned out pretty dang good. And then I also did the classic upwave sauce, and I tried to like actually follow the recipe and like follow through and strain it afterwards and stuff. And I gotta tell you, it was the best iteration I think I've ever made. Like it slaps. It's creamy. The pepper gives a good pop, and then it doesn't overwhelm the steak, so you still get all that like steak beefy goodness and the juices and stuff. And it's just it's just so good.
Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I went over to I went to my buddy Chris. So when I'm not doing the TV tower stuff, which right now I'm not for like the last week or so, I'm helping out the Magnus Motorsports folks. And my buddy over there, Chris, his family's Puerto Rican. He's like, yo, dude, come over to our place over here for Thanksgiving. So over there I went, and they had made like chicharrones, freaking beef ribs, all sorts of like I think we had like chicken gizzards and plantains. It was a crazy cool and awesome Puerto Rican Thanksgiving, because they're like, yeah, dude, turkey's lame. And I've always thought turkey's lame too. Whenever I do Thanksgiving with my father, we always do steaks and shrimp. So it's a very surf and turf lifestyle for us as well. So I totally approve. And remind me again, what is poivre sauce?
It is a French sauce. Pretty much it is heavy cream, brandy, crushed black pepper, shallot, garlic, and a little bit of butter to get the whole thing going. But
all right,
it's fun. If you remember when we did the cooking stream, I made it on there, and then I did the classic flambe thing or whatever, where you burn off the alcohol, and you're just standing there with a flaming pan, just like, what do I do now?
Don't fucking dump it on the floor.
Pretty much, yeah. But I gotta say, like, final points on turkey is it healthy? Yeah. Can it be good? It can be, but it's just like, it feels like it's so easy to screw up, and there's so much investment that goes into it. A, because like the thing's not cheap. B, it takes like a week to defrost out of the freezer, and then additionally cooking it takes forever, and you got to do all the different steps, all the different time. Like I was in and out of the kitchen under an hour last night. Like, yep. Easy. What's not to love? Plenty of time for the other fun stuff.
Yep. 100%. I've never cooked a turkey myself, but it does seem like a really big commitment, really high cost for a low yield result, you know? Whereas like cooking a steak, it's like that's like a medium low cost of like effort and time to get a fantastic result. But like a turkey, you know, you're looking at spending at least a half a day on that thing. So my mother makes great turkey. My mother makes great ham. I will leave all of that to her. I personally am not interested in doing it myself. I'll let other people do it. But if I have my druthers, then I have a delicious beef Thanksgiving. That's my preference. So
Hey, it works for me. Surf and turf is classic. I think you do it right.
Yep.
Excellent. Alrighty, sir. Tell you what. Do you have the thing?
I have the thing. It's time for chat motherfucking shout outs, ladies and germs. Part of the show where we shout you guys out that are so cool and awesome as to be interacting with us as we are live. Most
Absolutely.
excellent.
And we are very grateful that you guys are hanging out with us. First up, we got Tam Tam. She says, hello, my lovelies. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Tam Tam. Hope you and the family are doing very well. Having a great time. Great Thanksgiving. Up next, we got It's Your Boy, Slide 180, a.k.a. Josh, with the cheers. So cheers to you, sir. Will is drinking, but I have a beer here that I'm happy to share with you. He says,
I have a secret mug of wonderful coffee. That's what I'm drinking. So that's the drinking and driving for me.
I dig it. Just as I ate too much the last 2 days, I am in a food catacomb. Not just a coma, a catacomb. Gosh dang. Really put it in there. Tell you what, if you guys have fun stuff that you had for Thanksgiving, throw it in the chat. I definitely want to hear what you guys got yourselves into, because good to hear from you guys.
Yeah, if someone has a better idea than us, I'm all for it. I would love to hear what are some things that I'm not incorporating in my Thanksgiving. So if you guys have a fancy, cool dish, definitely tell us.
I think one of the coolest Thanksgiving traditions I've ever heard is people are the similar lines of us, where they're like, look, Thanksgiving food kind of sucks. How about instead we get everyone together in the kitchen, we all make sushi, and then we create the sushi roulette wheel. That's just like mystery stuff. And then there's some like randomly like really spicy ones that have a bunch of wasabi in them. And then everyone just kind of sits around, you spin the wheel and you grab the sushi.
Sushi roulette. That's fun. I like that. I have made sushi for Thanksgiving before. I think my favorite Thanksgiving memory was my first Thanksgiving in the Marine Corps. We had a barracks Thanksgiving, and we're not allowed to, like, this is, you know, when we were young Marines and we didn't know that like you can actually break the rules and nothing happens. But we were like, oh my God, you can't have cooking implements inside the rooms. And so what we did is we drove out to all the fast food places around in town. We went and collected a whole bunch of different fast foods. We came back and just like dumped it in we had knocked over one of our dressers and put like a bed sheet on it to be our table and tablecloth, because the chow hall food sucks. And that was our awesome first Thanksgiving. So I don't remember, Josh, if you were there for that one, Mr. Slide 180. I cannot recall. Josh might have been there, but I know our mutual friend Moffat and Alex and some of the other barracks rats were over there with us. So fucking
barracks rats.
Did you ever have any fun Coast Guard Thanksgivings out underway, or like, I don't know if officers have barracks or whatever.
No, so I didn't live in the barracks, but when we were on the ship and stuff, yeah, we had a couple holidays that we were out, and then I was also the young guy, so I got stuck with duty. So we kind of just, you know, had boat food, so it's nothing crazy. But we did a lot cooler stuff for stuff that was not like Thanksgiving. I think everyone was kind of like milk toast on it. There was one night the Chiefs, our senior enlisted mess, they did the morale dinner, and they did medieval times on the boat. It was fun.
Oh, that's cool. Like jousting and everything.
Not quite the full on jousting, but they did have some of the folks put on some form of entertainment for us.
Okay. It sounds like it's a secret, some kind of secret special thing that regular folk aren't allowed to know about. Is this
nothing too crazy?
It's not like a shellback ceremony or
never did any of those
belly or anything.
Yeah,
man, there's some crazy traditions they got in the Navy, man. Some crazy fucking things. But anyways, we're getting a little bit distracted. We got motherfucking shout outs to get to, right? Or was that all of them?
That's pretty much all of them, but Josh is saying, I can't remember if I was there for Will's Thanksgiving. I'm not going to lie. I was probably hammered and don't remember anyways. There has been plenty of Thanksgiving that may or may not have had the same experience myself. So I will say,
yeah.
you and the barracks, the food run, and then making the makeshift table with the boys. That's some
Yep.
good old like college days kind of stuff. I love it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It
Alrighty,
was
tell you
quite
what,
fun.
that is it for chat shout-outs. So what are we here to talk about tonight besides Thanksgiving stuff? Well, we're here to talk about the book called The Great Accounting Frauds. This is the book that I picked because I thought it'd be a fun little romp down memory lane and relive kind of like the juicy NCIS style review of different crimes and stuff that happened or just went poorly pretty much. But what the point of the book is, the author goes down a list of accounting frauds that have happened pretty much in the last like 30 years or 30, 40 years, depending on where you set the starting time, because he talked about the Bill Clinton administration. But just a little bit of a chronological case study of just different stuff that happened. But here is your official summary. The Great Accounting Frauds exposes the hidden mechanics behind some of the largest financial deceptions in modern history, showing how companies across industries and continents manipulated earnings, fabricated assets, and engineered illusions of stability. The book walks through cases like Enron, WorldCom, Parmalat, Satyam, Wirecard, Lehman Brothers, and more, each one demonstrating a different playbook of deceit. What emerges is a pattern. These weren't random acts of corruption, but systematic failures driven by pressure to meet expectations, weak oversight, cultures of fear, and incentives that rewarded manipulation over truth. Taken together, these scandals reveal that accounting fraud isn't just about cooked books. It's about the structures and incentives that shape corporate behavior. When leadership, auditors, regulators, and investors all chase short-term appearances instead of underlying reality, fraud becomes almost inevitable. The book forces us to confront a hard truth. The world's biggest financial disasters didn't come from ignorance. They came from people who knew exactly what they were doing and from the systems that allowed it. So there you go. There's your summary. Tell you what, Will, I do want to toss the first one over to you. You have all of them to pick from. Were there any of the frauds that really tickled your interest?
Yeah, so there were two of them that stuck out to me. Actually, no, I'll narrow it down to one. The medical one, really, like, I was really sad about that because it was essentially a medical company that started off like really solidly fixing people's problems, being patient first. And so that one like really hit me in the feels because that's like a far cry from what we got in the medical world today. And essentially what happened for them, for the folks at home, is a small medical company got big, and with becoming big, they were like thrust into the big corporate world, and they just kind of fell down the path of temptation and did a bunch of bad shit and just fucking totally ruined their reputation, which up until that point was like fantastic. So that one was a real bummer. And I can't remember if there are any that, like, I mean, obviously there's Enron, and that's like, everyone knows about Enron.
The big one.
So that was can you kind of name them off? Or no, you just did name them off. Just kidding.
No, I got some here for you. Yeah, so we had Enron.
Yeah.
The first
Jog
one.
my memory.
The big bad Enron. So what happened was that Enron was the U.S. Energy company, and they collapsed in 2001 after falsifying profits. What they were doing is they were trying to hide their debt off the balance sheet, and they were also pretty much using speculative future projections or future profits immediately, saying like, oh, look, we're so profitable, being like, yeah, we're going to get these profits in the future, instead of accurately portraying what they were actually doing here. The book is The Great Accounting Frauds. So overall, the book does get a bit nerdy on like the ins and outs of how they cook the books, mess with the numbers and that kind of stuff, and play the shell game in some of them. This was a case of that, which is that they were trying to like hide their debt in other areas, and they were trying to like claim that future profits are now profits to look profitable now, so their stock price doesn't tank. And then one of the nastiest ones about this one, though, is that they actually manipulated energy prices and created fake trading volume of their own stock. I was like, that is downright dastardly.
Bro, it's so like similar to a lot of crypto blockchains that will go and do false like trading volume things where they send $1 back and forth to themselves like 1 million times. They're like, oh, congratulations, we've created $1 million of economic activity. And it's like, nah, two people that are the same person is sending the same money back and forth a bunch of times. So it's like spoofing the volume. and making fake prices. So it's totally relevant to the crypto sphere for all the degens and degenettes out there. But sorry, continue though.
Oh, you're good. I guess the takeaway from the Enron one was this is one of the first massive like accounting frauds that really ruined investor trust in corporate accounting in particular. And there were even some legal acts that or pieces of legislation that were created as a result of this one that were requiring governance and audits. So good job, Enron. You changed the world, not in the way that you thought.
I got something on the audits, man. Total non sequitur to the list of them that we're going through. But another thing that really stuck out to me in this book was when they were talking about like audits don't find problems. Audits go through companies' books to see like, hey, does most everything make sense? And because it's like they can only check randomly. They can't check every single transaction. They can't check every single thing. And if a company's being bad, they're gonna hide their bad stuff, and they're gonna help the auditor come to the conclusion that they want the auditor to come to. You know, it's like the I think the analogy that they gave is that the auditors are like watchdogs. They're not bloodhounds. So they just kind of like they look for big problems, but they can't like sniff out a rat, sort of thing. So that was a really great quote in that book. I should have wrote that in the Telegram. Damn.
I forget what section of the book that comes from, but this was it was later on in the book, if I remember, which by the way, the entire book was only like 5 hours long on audiobook. So very easy, very doable. But this was one of the important things that they talked about, which is that exactly what you said, which is that the auditor is not there to go find blood. They are not a forensic accountant. The auditor is someone who is there to just make sure that the math is mathing and it checks out. You call in the forensic accountant once you know that something has gone wrong and you're actually trying to find the crime. But another interesting point that they made about the auditors is that an auditor or even a team of auditors, they're not going to do everything. They're not going to check everything because they just don't have time to. So what they do
it's cost
is
prohibitive. Yeah,
it's that too. But the other thing is that they use a kind of like batch style analysis, or what they do is they take samples of the larger pool, and if you have enough of the samples that meet the correct criteria, you can kind of insinuate or infer that the rest of the stuff is probably good. Because look, if this is checking out, it's part of a system. The system is clearly working. Therefore, the rest of the stuff that we didn't look at because we didn't have time or the funds to should be good as well. But I mean, at the same time, it's like, it's like you said,
you don't X-ray every single brick that you use to build your building, right?
Yes, sir.
You check a pallet or two of them, and it's like, oh, there's no problems in these. All right, let's build the building. You know,
definitely. But one of the things that you said is entirely accurate, though, which is that if you are someone that is actively trying to cook the books, the way that you cook the books is that you make the math work out in the end. So that way, when the auditors come through, it checks out for them as well, even if you did something that they don't see. It's kind of the idea that you got to make sure that the numbers at the end match up, and even numbers kind of along the way match up. But between that is where you can do the nefarious activities, if you will.
Yes.
Yeah. I got to say, there was another one. It was Adelphia. I don't know. I remember this one because I remember the commercials back when I was a kid. I was really young for a lot of this stuff. But I remember this one in particular because I actually knew the guy that did the commercials. He's this British guy, and he did all the Adelphia commercials. But the Adelphia story was an interesting one for me because it was kind of like, here are people that came up from nothing, just poor folks getting into the cable business. And then ultimately they made the mistake of mixing all the money all together and then start using it for extracurricular purposes. I think they said that they even started buying like golf courses or something for their family to use.
Oh yeah, it was that was the family one. That was the one where it was like basically they hit all the transactions from like everyone, and they would like hire their own family business to do all of the stuff and just pay exorbitant prices for it. So it's like, you know, imagine I own I own the car making company, and my best friend Zenith, right? He owns the tire making company, and I say, hey Zenith, I'm going to buy tires from you at 4 times the price, and you just give me like a 25% kickback, and then you pocket the rest or whatever, or we'll make boatloads of money. And they were basically just doing that the entire fucking time. I'd forgotten about them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So this one for me really had 2 key points. Number one is what you're talking about there, which is that, look, can you do business with friends and family? Yes. Is it real easy to do nefarious stuff and start using the funds in ways just to benefit each other at the expense of the company or the people invested in the company? Yes. And that's absolutely what happened in this case. Gosh, I think it was there was a guy that wanted to like start a car lot. They had a snow removal. They had a lawn care company. They had like a golf course that they purchased. I think they even had some hotels, and all of it was pretty much just like people in the family, related to the family, near the family, that were trying to do business with this one base company, which was, I believe it was a publicly traded company at the time. Therefore, it was also, there were other people that were involved in the business, but that were not privy to just this level of access that they had. You could argue it was kind of like, I don't know, like mafia-esque, which is like, we got to keep it in the family, the family business and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But that was the big one. The other one for me is actually, I was reading this and I remembered the book that your mom wrote about the how to avoid trouble with the IRS. And one of the big things she talks about in that book is that you keep the money pots separate if you're running your own company. Don't be tempted to just like funnel some cash into here or take a shortcut because it's easier to like pay yourself back or something. And that was another thing that they did, is that aside from all the family business stuff, the fact that it all went through like the same main account was like one of the big blunders that they had. And that was where they really got in trouble with it, because that's how you started giving yourself sweetheart deals or overpaying your cousin is one thing. But when you start doing that inside of the company account as well, you're starting to merge those outside streams with your main core stream. And the main issue here is they only had one account that they ran everything through. So that's, again, how they really screwed this one up.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
I think that thing is like basically perfectly fine to do if you're a privately traded company. But once you start taking other people's money and then you start using other people's money to fund your own pockets without producing a value for those other people, then that's where it starts to get unethical, you know?
Oh, for sure.
That's my own personal take anyways.
Yeah, that was not good. I will say we did get some other big names in this one though. Gosh, where did it go? Looking at my notes, we got I don't want to cover Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac just yet, but we did get the king of them all, Bernie Madoff, the head Ponzi man himself was included in this book. This was interesting.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was
just going to ask. Go ahead.
So I've never really understood what Bernie Madoff did, other than just knowing that like he ran the greatest Ponzi scheme. And by the way, when it comes to like, there's two things that people kind of like interchange, even though they're technically different. You have a Ponzi scheme versus a pyramid scheme. The pyramid scheme is your classic multi-level marketing scheme of like, you get 6 friends to give you $6, and then they each get 6 friends to give them $6, and then it kind of just all funnels towards the top. That is the pyramid scheme. What a Ponzi scheme is that you run what appears to be a legitimately cash flowing business, even though what you're doing is, instead of building the pyramid, you're kind of building an assembly line of people that are investors. So you get one investor to give you money, and then you go get another investor to give you money, and then you use the money from investor 2 to pay back investor 1, which then pays back you, and you still collect some of it. And then you just keep reiterating that down the line. So not pyramid, but just line shaped. But the core of what the Ponzi scheme is you're trying to give off the appearance of a legitimately functioning business, but the only like real function out of it is to get incoming money and then funnel it to the next person in line, who then funnels it to the next person in line and the next person in line. Very similar, but different kind of structure overall. But again, the main thing here is that you make it look like it's a functioning business that is actually cash flowing, but the cash flow is merely just people buying in and then paying the person that got in just ahead of them.
Yep. A lot of like modern pyramid schemes and Ponzi schemes do that sort of thing where they so like if I understand correctly, Zenith, a pyramid scheme is just people trying to get other people to buy into the thing, and then they go and try and get people to buy into the thing, but there is no actual thing in the back. What a lot of like companies do nowadays is they try and get people to join as sales representatives to basically network to leverage their network of friends and family and I don't know, just people that they know to more or less like get the money out of them, and then they get the kickbacks and all that other stuff. Shit, where was I going with this? There's a lot of companies. I was just watching like a video earlier, totally separate from the book, where it was like a dude who goes into these meetings. They're like Zoom calls where it's like one salesperson selling to like a 20-person room Zoom call, and he goes in and he like disrupts it and is like, "Hey guys, just so you know, this is a Ponzi scheme." And then the Ponzi disruptor guy, he goes and because they kick him out of the Zoom call, and so he goes and gets his friends to also join into so they're like reverse Ponziing this this big huge marketing call. And when they kick one of them out of the Zoom room, the next guy like raises his hand to speak, and he's like, "Oh wow, that guy was an asshole. But anyways, this does seem like a Ponzi scheme," and blah da da da. And each one of them like shouts out the original dude's like website or whatever. But anyways, it's a real common thing. And when I was younger, I had got roped into one of them. I think it was like an energy drink company, because they had wormed their way into my friends in the Marine Corps. And so like, dumb young Marines don't know what the fuck they're doing. And so they see their friend being like, "Oh my God, I'm making so much money, bro. This is crazy." It's like, "Oh wow, I could do this too," and you rely on the brand and the trust that you have in your homies and amigos. But really at the end of the day, you're all just idiots that have fallen for one big sucker play, So I've had some experience with some legitimate Ponzi companies in the past. And let me tell you, it's an interesting one, man.
Yeah. So obviously,
anyways, you were talking about Bernie Madoff.
Yeah. So Bernie Madoff was an interesting story because I understood the Ponzi aspect, but I never understood like the underlying story. The underlying story for it pretty much was it was a guy trying to create an investment fund, and he even was working with, again, within the family with some of his like relatives. But what he claimed to have was this strategic trading strategy that always worked. And the way that he really ran the Ponzi was he made it look like the investment fund was doing and was performing very well, and that he is the center of it. There is your appearance of legitimate business. Realistically, it was not the case. But one of the interesting points about this one is that the way that he made it look legitimate for so long was that there were some good investments out of it that actually attracted people. And what he did is that he actually started denying people, saying like, "Oh, I can't take on any more right now." So created this illusion of exclusivity. As a result of that, it gave it kind of like this prestige and reputation that came with it. So that is one of the things that really held on to it. But ultimately, it did end up collapsing because some people started looking at it and they're like, this doesn't quite seem right. Like the returns you're proposing, like just don't like make sense based on like what's happening in the market and stuff. People actually tried filing to the SEC about them, but the SEC initially said, doesn't look like anything's wrong. We're just not interested in looking into it. And then ultimately later on, did they finally get it after multiple warnings of people saying that, no, this is a Ponzi scheme.
Didn't his sons turn him in?
I think, it was his sons. It was either his sons convinced him to turn himself in or his sons turned him in. But that is ultimately how it did collapse.
Yeah.
The quote that I have from this one, this one had a really good quote attached to it. It was that people that don't want to be seduced cannot be seduced. But the people that are seduced are the ones that do want to be. So the people that wanted to be seduced by Bernie Madoff, they were able to be seduced by Bernie Madoff. The people that didn't want to be seduced, those are the people that were actually the whistleblowers and actually saying like, this doesn't make sense. Not into it. No thanks. So, yeah, that was a really good quote that stuck out to me.
Yeah, it's like if you're thirsty, man, you'll drink the fuck out of that Kool-Aid. And that's like it's the same thing with like neurolinguistic programming. It's the same thing with sales. It's the same thing with like hypnotists. If people don't want to play, then you can't sell. If people don't want to be there, then you're wasting your time. But if they're enthusiastic, if they're interested, it's like the whole principle of you only sell to warm buyers. You can't get people that don't want to believe. So that's like the FOMO of that he was giving people, being like, "Hey, sorry guys, you can't get in. I'm all full up right now." Like that drove people mad, and because they're like, "Oh man, I can't have it. I want it. It looks like it's doing great, yada yada yada," giving them that FOMO, like reinforcing their belief, drumming up their like emotional need for cool, awesome thing, and the scarcity, whatever. Very similar to the cryptocurrency sphere. So a lot of these things tie in really, really well to the whole crypto world.
They do. I think one of the main differences between the case studies in the book versus the cryptosphere is that through a lot of these corporate ones, you see a lot of pressure for people to try to perform this quarter or whatever the current time period is. And they're always under this like pressure, and they're also under competition with other people at the same company to ensure that no one's out competing you, and people are willing to kind of like maybe like fudge the numbers a little bit, move stuff around and make it look like it's actually happening or not. But on top of that, there's also just kind of the idea of corporate structure, which is that if a handful of people are doing it, it's basically a tacit encouragement for other people to also be doing it so that the whole thing stays afloat. It is pretty much just building the house of cards. And if one person chooses not to partake, then the whole thing really falls down. That's something I saw in this one that I don't know if it applies the same to crypto. You could argue it does, which is that people care about like the ticker price of coins instantaneously at any given moment all the time. And you want to try to keep it high. But I think that especially with the crypto stuff that we talk about a lot, I don't think we see a lot of that, largely due to we focus on larger cap tokens. Obviously, we talk about Bitcoin a lot because we believe that it leads the market and will really kind of like show how the rest of the market's going to move. But on top of that, the individual tokens and the companies behind them lower down have the ability to make their own moves. But at the same time, if they're set up well, they're not under that consistent and constant pressure to always need to be performing and always need to be like making revenue. Because at a certain point, you just like, you make the project works or it doesn't, and then people can choose to buy in. And then sure, you can push out like updates and like new additions and stuff to kind of keep it fresh in people's minds. I would argue that's more of like for marketing standpoint. So that way it continues to live on so that the underlying project still has the liquidity and just the volume to keep it going and make it attractive to people that actually want to use it. I don't know. Do you think what do you think about that?
I think
we have that pressure or no?
Yeah, it's you're going to get that sort of competition in any sort of thing that I think has that money kind of pull and drive towards it, because you essentially have a market full of hungry people who always want most awesome thing, right? And in the business world, you're always competing for those quarterly numbers, and that never goes away. It reminds me a little bit of have you ever listened to the Joe Rogan interview with Lance Armstrong?
I have not.
I think Lance Armstrong. He's the one who's the bike rider, right?
Yeah, the cyclist, Tour de France guy.
Yeah, so like basically you cannot compete in the Tour de France or in all the bicycle races unless you're like massively juicing, and nobody admits to it, and everyone finds ways around the test. But it's like a sub competition within the original competition of like, hey, what can you do to be the best bicycle rider guy, whatever the hell. And the people that like go in all natural, they just get like fucking they get hammered by everybody that's going in there juicing, taking steroids, or like, I don't know, fucking injecting adrenochrome or getting bionic knees. I don't fucking know.
The big thing that they do is actually doping. So what they do is, my dad is a big cyclist fan, so I've heard about this one all my life. What they do is they actually you remove some of your blood, and then you keep it stored. So that way your body replaces all the blood that was lost. And then once you get towards race time or whatever, you pretty much cycle out the red blood cells and then reintroduce them into your body. What this does is means that you now have a higher content of red blood cells, aka the things that carry oxygen to your muscles. This allows you to go through the very grueling like races that they have set up. This is something I've never like understood why they keep doing this, even if they know they have all these problems. But they insist on having like a 23-day long race where every race takes like 5 hours, goes over like 150 miles or something, up mountains, like multiple mountains in a single day, that kind of stuff. It's like, it's creating an incentive system, which is exactly what you talked about, which is like, this is the peak of cycling because they have it set up this way. It creates incentive for people to try to hang in there. And well,
Yeah.
if you can't hang with the people that are doing it, you're just going to get washed out.
Yep. Yeah. And it's like, you can argue about the ethics of doing the blood doping and or whatever the hell, stuff that they do to get the best results, right? Whether they're like smoking meth while they're cycling around, or they're injecting fresh new red blood cells. It's like the point is, the market mostly only cares about the results, and because the market cares the most about the results, that's the thing that they go for, come hell or high water. And when you find these companies doing this accounting thing, when you see these cryptocurrencies doing this like chart manipulating or whatever the hell, right? They're all chasing that bigger, better feeling of being the best and like wiping out all the competition. And what that inevitably does is, it's like the whole all's fair in love and war kind of thing. Only the strong survive, and only the cheaters survive of the strong. So it's like, maybe not only the cheaters, but if you don't cheat, then you don't survive, kind of deal. And I think that it's a good analogy to compare the crypto, or like your examples anyways, of comparing the crypto stuff to the accounting fraud. Like obviously different. What did you call like they're not a perfectly comparable example, but like at the core of the crux of what the thing is, it's got a lot of similarities.
Yeah, I think that this is something we've especially seen in the last 10 years from corporate activity, even more now, which is just the need to always be performing. Otherwise, your stock goes down, people lose out on their stock options, they don't happen, and then people's retirements effectively are gone. And just this constant pressure and drive to always be making those quarterly earnings and constantly growing as well. I think there was a story we covered this probably about a year ago, which is like Amazon is having an issue hiring people because they've already had everyone like work for them at some point, so they can't find new people to work for them. It's like, okay, if
They've
you
burned
have
everyone,
if you've literally gotten to the point where your company is so large, you have incorporated the entire labor pool. There are no more people to incorporate. How do you keep growing out of that? At that point, like, wouldn't it just make sense just to run the business like profitably? You don't have to keep growing, but it just has to like keep doing what it's supposed to do, which is deliver products and services to people at a competitive rate at a quick speed. Why do you have to keep growing it in comparison to everything else?
They're also atrocious at the way that they treat the human beings that work for them. So this like they've not only like used up all the labor pool, but they've also like disincentivized so many folks and just ruined the brand of their like what it is to work for Amazon so much that it's like, oh well, nothing can be done about that now.
Yeah, wild stuff. Tell you what, I do want to get to kind of what I believe is possibly the biggest one. I know it doesn't quite fall in the classic like accounting fraud category, but it does still have aspects of that. And that's the good old Freddie Mae and Fannie Mac.
Yes.
So these ones, this is the story of perverse incentive systems that was created by government, regulators, and bankers working together when theoretically they are supposed to be somewhat at odds in order to check each other.
Yeah.
The way it worked was back in the day, good old Bill Clinton got up there saying that home ownership was one of the most important things you could possibly have. And then even throughout the 90s and early 2000s, people were aggressively pushing this narrative and even making up studies to try to compete with people saying that like, look, renting is actually more advantageous mathematically right now. And then just all the bots, all the sock accounts, all the people just attacking it with their fake studies being like, no, you're a liar. It's like, wow, really way to express the competition. Anyways, structurally, starts off with Bill Clinton giving the famous speech about got to have home ownership so that people have pride in their country and their neighborhoods and that kind of stuff. They created government-sponsored enterprises. Pretty much, it was there to support the U.S. mortgage market. publicly traded, but implicitly government backed. That's the big one here. They had low borrowing costs that allowed them to dominate mortgage-backed securities markets, and it created a perverse incentive structure because the private sector executive compensation was tied to profits. Public sector regulatory treatment was assuming it was low risk, even if it wasn't. And political capture ensured that there was weak oversight because the politicians wanted it to be a big win, even if it didn't mathematically make sense. So what ended up happening is that Freddie Mac, one of the companies that was really writing a lot of these loans, underestimated their earnings by about understated their earnings by about $5 billion. It was designed not to inflate the numbers, but to smooth them, creating an image of predictability and safety. Pretty much what they did is they manipulated the timing of derivatives, hedge accounting entries, and amortization schedules. I can't remember what that one was. But then derivatives accounting, they also were messing around with derivatives, which gets a lot of people in trouble as well. And then also the internal culture was one of the big issues, which is that they explicitly told people to fix gaps between real numbers and the target results. And they said it was literally from the top down. And if you don't do this, like, you're going to get fired. So bad culture overall, and leadership, honestly. As a result of this, some senior executives resigned. The company paid $125 million in fines. I don't know if that quite compensates the scope of what they profited out of it. But
so much of the examples in this book got fined a cunt hair of the value of the money that they ripped off of people. And so it's like it's basically like, hey, if you rob that bank, I'm going to write you a $400 ticket. So you better not rob that bank for millions of dollars unless you want that $400 ticket when I find you guilty. It was just absolutely that was another one of the things that the book mentioned towards the very end, is like, a lot of these people do this stuff, and a lot of these people will continue to do this stuff because of the lack of disincentivization and whatnot. But yeah, the fines almost never equal the damage. That was all that I had on that one. Did you freeze, or did I? Uh-oh. I don't know if we lost Zenith or not. And I'm driving, so I can't tell things. It says that I've got 5G connection. God bless America. Well, what were we talking about, folks? Oh, man. I guess the TLDR is, if you're going to be doing some bad accounting, get a whole bunch of money, then such is the way. God damn it. I am not in a position to do any sort of production right now. Zenith, you're failing me. All right. I guess I can, let me zoom out a little bit on my phone, and I'm going to pull over, and we'll do some chat motherfucking shout outs. So that way we can at least get a little bit of audience interaction over here. I was like, man, Zenith has got no fucking thoughts on what I'm saying. All right, I can turn off over here. Get onto Mars Road. Oh, we've got him back. Thank God. Bro, I'm like, wow, Zenith really doesn't care about that thought at all. All right. And then I had to do like 3 or 4 double takes. I don't know if did you witness that whole thing?
I did not. My computer just blue screened. So
okay.
At least it reboots quickly, but sorry about that.
Yeah, I had basically said, the size of the fines are a cunt hair of the value of the bullshit misaccounting that they do, where they steal everyone's money away, and that was basically it for my thought. And I'm like, looking at you, looking back at the road, what the hell's going on, man? Zenith doesn't care about this at all.
No. So I believe me, I do care.
We do it live, folks. No, I didn't know what was going on because I'm fucking driving right now.
All good.
I was about to pull over and do chat shoutouts because I didn't know what to talk about next. I have no show planned for this one.
I gotta finish out the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac stuff. So we did
Okay. Yeah.
Freddie Mac, Fannie Mae, very similar stuff actually. Overstated earnings by $6.3 billion this time, even more. But unlike this one, the previous one wanted predictability in their business numbers. This one was actually just about executive bonuses, with that everything was driven by people at the top saying, like, look, if I make the numbers better, I get paid more money, and it's a lot of money as well. So they did very similar things where strict earnings per share thresholds dictated pretty much how much you made, and then the actual fraud was just very similar, just over-reporting stuff with, again, backing by the government effectively to ensure that no one's really going to look into it too much. But ultimately, the CEO and the top leaders stood to gain millions if they hit their targets. And this is where you had a culture of dissent. Dissent was suppressed. Auditors were pressured to cook the books as well, and regulators were misled. So they were relying to everybody on this one, even their internal teams as well. So
Yeah.
what was different about this one from the other ones that we talked about is that they were not about concealing insolvency. They hid their volatility instead. So Enron hid their losses by trying to hide the debt in different companies. A bunch of other ones tried to hide missing cash. And then like that Adelphia one, they were trying to hide separate businesses that were tying into their business, but they weren't even there. But this one was, again, about hiding the volatility. One of the big things about this one is this is really a case of perverse incentives, which is that because they had the government as the backstop, it meant that the investors didn't have to panic about anything. So they kind of could get away with a lot. Firms couldn't go bankrupt. So what do you care about running it into the dirt? And then regulators also moved very slowly because they were trying to assist these people with helping more people get home ownership, even if they couldn't like technically mathematically qualify for the loans that they were getting. And then lastly, the politicians were defending them every step of the way as well. So that's why the scandals did not lead to an immediate collapse, but eventually it did. And then it also largely created the 2008 financial crisis. Yeah.
Yep.
Old stuff.
And then it was all based on home ownership and like, everybody needs to have a home. And then, oh shit, we can make money if we give more people homes. And then, these people shouldn't get one, but fuck it. I get paid. They get a home. Everybody wins, except for all the people that don't win. And were the Lehman Brothers tied into that one as well?
Yes. So Lehman Brothers, they disguised leverage during the 2008 financial crisis. They used what was called Repo 105 transactions to temporarily remove liabilities from their balance sheet. They created the appearance of low leverage ratios before their quarterly filings, and their deception masked the firm's fragility as liquidity dried up in the markets as well. And the collapse became really one of the defining events during the global financial crisis. The core lesson from this one was regulatory arbitrage can hide systemic risk unless stress reveals it instantly. So pretty much, if you do the fancy accounting stuff to kind of hide the risk, it looks good until it's suddenly so big that you can't do it anymore. And at that point, that really is just like the earth cracking, the house of cards falling down. Like it's instant.
There was a story in there as well about was that the government won the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac?
I think Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac was government. That was the big core lesson from that one was that because the government was backstopping all those home loans effectively, what it did is it created a perverse system, and it removed kind of like the business incentive, which is like, you got to run an effective business. Otherwise you're not going to have a business anymore. Well, in this case, it pretty much was like, don't worry, you're going to have a business, so do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, it's really like people really do operate off incentives. And so if you give them like fairies and rainbows, no matter what they do, they're going to do the things that serve them best, not the things that like make the world better more often than not.
Yeah. Tell you what, let's go ahead and go to the last chapter in the book where he kind of wraps everything up. I think he summarizes a lot of the lessons very nicely. But the common themes throughout the book. First one, pressure to meet earnings expectations. we already talked about that one a good bit, which is if you're constantly just chasing that next thing, it is an immense pressure because A, you could lose your job. B, you could lose the company if you're running it. Or C, you're not going to get that massive bonus that you were hoping for this entire time, that kind of stuff. As a result of that, you really start prioritizing those short-term wins instead of long-term sustainability. So, like, yeah, you made it this quarter. You might make next one. I don't know if you're going to make it in 5 years, though. Ugh.
Yeah.
Next one, misaligned incentives. We didn't see it in all of them, but we saw it in a handful of them, which is like, once you start placing incentives where they shouldn't be, you really enable and encourage the bad behavior. So to go back to the Adelphia one, if you have your family running the company and your brother or cousins are trying to start up their own small company, well, if they're willing to give you money and they're willing to overcharge you for your services and give you kickbacks, well, now you're just incentivizing yourself to make bad moves effectively. And you even have the family ties to allegedly be like, no, we're not going to tell anybody. We'll be okay. We'll be cool. Just nobody say anything. It's like, oh my gosh. Next one, auditor complacency or complicity. We talked about this one in a couple of them. Our more lengthy discussion on the auditors. That's like, it's either they could be bad at their jobs, so they're not going to actually catch the fraud or make sure that the numbers even work in the first place. Or the second one, which is what we saw in some of the other ones, which is like they're actually pressured to make the numbers work even if they don't work, just so that they are in on the game. And either way, you're ruining the point of having an auditor.
Yeah.
Next one, weak internal controls. I can't remember which one talked about like the importance of actually like having whistleblowers and whistleblower protection, but this one definitely ties into that story, which was like, if you're not allowed to say anything, then it's just automatically not going to go anywhere from the first place, because if you're not allowed to say anything, you can just do what you want. So it's not even from like the legality or criminal standpoint, but it's more of even just the business standpoint as well, which is like, look, if you don't have internal controls, it means that nothing is the way it should be. So how do you build anything on just a really shaky foundation? Yeah. Two more. Complex financial instruments used as camouflage. This was in all of them.
Yep.
I think I can't remember which one it was. I don't think we covered it, but there was a real stupid thing, which was they hid their debts by writing contracts and then sealing them with NDAs with other companies to buy up their debt and then have a contractual obligation to repurchase that same debt back from them once the reporting period was over. It's like, that's a very like low-tech way of doing that. There were some higher tech ways of doing it, which we saw in the Enron one, which is they stood up entire other companies and went through all the different shell corporations just to hide debt. So that way it looks like they're actually cash flowing. And I think another big theme that I saw in a couple of them was that people were taking pretty much what was like, so you have total revenue of the company, you have your operating costs, and that small chunk is your profits. And that's really what they care about, because that gets returned to the shareholders. What they started doing is they started undercounting their operating costs and saying that, oh yes, look, we made all this money and more of it went to profits than the operating costs, even though more went to operating costs than profits. But don't tell anybody. It's like really, really great mathing there. That's just checking a different box under what is this for? So
it reminds me of like, you know, like the brass tacks of it reminds me of like, you know, liars tell you a whole lot of details in their stories. For people that tell the truth, they just like, yeah, this thing, that's it. Whereas liars will have a whole backstory. They'll have all sorts of, you know, da-di-da-di-da-di-da.
yeah.
That's what that made me think of.
Yeah. Last point. Last theme from the book. Cultures of fear, secrecy, or heroic leadership mythology. This is what we saw in a handful of them. You either have the family trying to keep everything hush-hush, you have I'm worried about getting fired, or you also have people claiming that the person at the helm of the ship is doing all these magical things and they can never do anything wrong, even though they're doing everything wrong.
Yep. This hero would never lead us astray.
Never, not once. Why would they?
Yeah, they didn't get to the top of this. Oh man, I'm now thinking of like crypto things.
No, I was about
Our
to ask you
fearless
about
leader would never do bad thing. Our fearless leader is fearless leader man.
Yeah.
You know?
I was gonna say, out of the list, were there any of those that you thought were these are maybe some things that we've seen in the crypto space for projects that go poorly, or where it could go poorly?
Well, sure, for sure, like faith in fearless leader guy. What was it?
Audits and internal controls is another one I could see.
Yeah,
which is,
yeah, audits for sure.
I think internal controls as well, because I mean everything in DeFi and crypto is code. So if the code is not good and there's nothing to restrain the code itself, it can very quickly not go well. And you can see crashes, you can see failures, you can see hacks, you can see liquidity pools dry up instantaneously, all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah.
I think the auditing one is an interesting one for the crypto world as well, because as
auditing code is different than auditing books, to be fair.
Yes, it is. But at the same time, is it slightly different? Yes. But the concept of auditing, I think, is very important. And it's something that we've actually looked at projects and kind of like given it a side eye because it wasn't audited by anything. It was kind of just like a trust me, bro kind of idea. So even that in itself, though, is that we don't look very much farther beyond that, which is we kind of just look at projects and see, like, have you been audited? Have you been audited multiple times by different people? Okay.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we don't really like see the audits too much. I don't
know how to read an audit. Like I'm asking another person, like, hey person, did you check this other person? Neither of which I know anything about other than their reputation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think the only other one that I could see as a big one for crypto is complex financial instruments used as camouflage, which is if you try to make the project do a million different things to hide the core issues underneath it, that seems very effective, especially in, like we just talked about with the auditing. Like, I am a terrible programmer. I'm barely at it. So it's like, if there's a lot of mechanisms at work, it can definitely mask a lot of the issues or obvious oversights or even loopholes and, or I guess like hacks or nefarious purposes. So it's like, if you create a token that does a bunch of different stuff, but then you kind of like hide in page 52, paragraph 7, that you can only sell half of what you buy and that you will always have 50% of what you have. It's like, that doesn't sound great, because that pretty much just means I'm just losing 50% of my investment and I'll never get it
Remember
back.
the Squid Game token? It was coded into the Squid Game token that you cannot sell. And the token went up to like 2.3 trillion market cap before the devs just rugged it all to zero. And it's like, man, that's an example of like this exact thing.
Yeah. Like, overall, was this the most critical book that we've read on the stream? Absolutely not. Is it still just like a nice little trip down memory lane to see what all the blunders are that people have made in the past, whether intentionally or unintentionally? Yeah. I think for the crypto space, it's important to consider these things. And I think incentives is a big one as well. We just understand what people are incentivized to do by the system that is being created. Are the people behind the team incentivized to pump up the price so that they can dump it? Are they incentivized to get people in for a longer amount of time so that their vested coins can actually come out and have some value at the end of the vesting schedule? That kind of stuff. Yeah. Tell you what, though, I know we go for it.
I totally just lost my thought. Someone did something retarded in front of me, and it totally distracted me. What was it that you had just said? You were talking about the
incentives.
book is like a trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
incentives.
Memory lane.
Yeah, it also teaches a lot of like good core principles on like why people do things. Like this, it was a good trip down memory lane, but it's also like people are people, and people are going to do people thing no matter whether they're in the crypto space, whether they're in the corporate accounting fraud space, whether they're riding bicycles to try and get through France really quickly. Folks are still gonna do people's stuff, irrespective of where they are and what they're doing. And so, like, looking at examples of other things gives us some insight into, or at least helps us think about how those types of behaviors could play out in our own little worlds. So I think that, you know, I agree. It's not the like the number one book we recommend, but I have no regrets reading it. I think that it was a great book, and it's good for people to understand like human nature and see examples of like, oh shit, not only in the cryptosphere do people get fucked over, but people also get fucked over all the time in the real world too. And like, think about this: if you're going to be investing your time in a business as an employee, as an investor, as a consumer, right? Like, do you want to be buying from companies that are doing these types of things? Do you want to be working alongside people that are going to be doing these sorts of things? It's just take this stuff into consideration, kind of deal is what I figure. So that's my thoughts on it.
Tell you what, why don't we go ahead and do the thing? So
do the thing.
If you had, yeah, we can do that thing too.
Oh, okay. The chat shoutouts thing. It's time for chat shoutouts. What were you talking about?
The hour scale.
Oh yeah. Let's do that. Let's do some chat shoutouts, and then I guess go to round off for the show then.
Yes, sir.
All right, sweet. Who we got?
Chat shoutouts. We got a good buddy coming in here. Hex Glenn says, "Hi all. Good to have you listen." Hex Glenn, thank you so much for showing up for it. And Russ, also Ninja watching over there, he was talking back to you when I disappeared there. And he goes, "Yep, Zenith agrees," and he's gone.
Yep.
Good stuff. That is actually it for chat shoutouts. So hear me out. Not a lot of chat shoutouts tonight, but I'm going to take that as a good thing because it means everyone's out there hanging out. Yeah, well, I was going to say, hopefully everyone's hanging out with family for Thanksgiving weekend and stuff and doing all the family activity. Because believe me, like, there's nothing like a good board game with the blood relatives to get it pumping and flowing, and then someone throws the Monopoly board halfway across the room. It's a good time, you know? Alrighty, tell you what, Will. Let's start getting out of here a little bit. So, for the folks at home, where can they find you? What do you have going on? And on the 0 to 10,000 hours of mastery scale, where do you put this book?
So you guys can find me in College Station for the weekend. I'm going to be hanging out with some folks and chilling and having a good time. So if there's any Hexicans over in College Station, hit me up on Telegram at t.me/Will Stevenson. That's where you guys can find me. Also in the Degen Roundtable chats. If you guys are in that Telegram, it's not super duper active, which I think is indicative of these low prices. As soon as the prices start going higher, I bet that Telegram will be a buzzing. But since it's not a buzzing right now, it's really easy to find people that are trying to get a hold of us or trying to chit chat or trying to, you know, hang out or have some fun. So if you guys are near College Station, you want to hang out, grab a beer, let me know. I'm down to throw axes, do whatever. As far as what do I've got going on in the near future, I'm going to be hosting next week's book club where we're going to be covering Unlimited Power by Tony Robbins. So Anthony Robbins, a fantastic speaker, fantastic leader of seminars, and just all around great leader in the world of personal power and development and neurolinguistic programming and self-betterment and all that. So we're covering Unlimited Power by Anthony Robbins. Now there's a short version of it on Audible and it's free, and there's a long version of it on YouTube, and I will be posting both of those in the Degen Roundtable Telegram for book club, t.me/Degen book club. That's what I've got going on. That's where folks can find me. As far as my thoughts on this book and where do I put it on a scale of 0 to 1,000 or 10,000, 0 being I know nothing, 10,000 being I'm an absolute expert. Where folks should read this book, I think they would be best served reading it between the 100 to 1,000 hour mark. Anywhere in there, this would be a good book for you. And you know, you could read it earlier than that, but I don't know if it would serve you very well to kind of hop into it. There's a bit of like complicated economic-y stuff in there, but you know, if you've watched 50 episodes of the Degen Roundtable, then you're basically ready to start hopping on into this book and learning about the great accounting frauds and things. So that's where I would put it. What about you, Z? Where would you put this book on your scale of 0 to 10,000? And where can the folks find you, and what have you got going on? And then take us out.
Will do. So I like this book. It is a fun short read. There's a lot of good stuff. Only caveat, is that it's accounting fraud. So it's not going to be the cool, fun, sexy stuff. They had one story about the guy who was like a wannabe celebrity that was funneling money between different countries and oil companies and stuff, and pretty much eroded investor confidence in Malaysia and stuff. So
That was
not
a
as
pretty
much
fun story.
That was fun.
Mr.
That was a good one.
Chin Lo or something.
Yeah, I think
Something
so.
low.
I remember they called him Panda or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, so a little bit on the nerdy side, a little on the technical side, but overall, really good. A lot of the stuff's very recent too, which is very nice. So overall, it's a fun book. I'm going to put it at 2,000 hours. I think
2,000.
Yes, because it's a good retrospective and it's a little bit technical. It's not going to give you fundamentals about what you should do. It's going to give you case studies about here's how people have gone wrong in the past, and here are bad structures and incentives to look at. If you want to take I guess if you want to focus on like trying to find the things to avoid, you could have it earlier on. But at the same time, I think that there are a lot of other books that will give you good fundamentals of like the pitfalls to watch out for that you could read earlier on. But at the same time, though, I understand like I want to put it early on. But at the same time, like I said, it's not a lot of proactive advice. So I'm putting a little bit higher there. But yes, you will definitely read this one before you read Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, dear God.
Or
if
like
ever.
or if ever, or any of the Devil's Advocate books that I did. This is it's more important than those ones. That's for sure. Outside of that, though, folks, you can find me over on Instagram and X at zenithdi, but you can also find me and Will and the rest of the team here when we do our shows every week. We got 3 of them, by the way. You're watching one right now. Book Clubs, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as is all of our shows. Up next, the next show we got is our Sunday news flagship show, where we're going to be talking about everything going on. Looks like the crypto markets are actually recovering a little bit. Hopefully we have a nice little finish to the end of the year, but we'll be talking about all that more on Sunday. And then we're going to have Whiskey Wednesday, again, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, like all of our shows, where we talk with you, the community. And we love hanging out with you guys and kind of going down some crazy ideas and whatever we want to do outside of the book club and the news show. So that is for you guys. That's for all of us. And it's for having fun. Outside of that, though, folks, I think that's everything I have for us tonight, which means it's time to read the end of show copywriting. I want to thank you all for spending your valuable time with us here on the DGen Roundtable. As our very own Agent J often says, we know that time is your most valuable asset. And we appreciate you investing it right here with us every time. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Zenith, but more importantly, you have been watching the DGen Roundtable. Mr. Producer, that's me. Go ahead and get that trigger finger ready because it's time to remind all the folks at home to remember to DGen responsibly.